Hey everybody, Adam Smith here, of course, with Brown Shoe Fit. If you're in our SOD store ownership development program, of course you know me, but if you're watching this, I think we're going to post this on social media and such just to introduce new people to our company and maybe get them into our training program. So if you're watching this, you can definitely check us out at brownshoefitcompany.com if you want to find out more information. But today I've got Craig Jarrard, our store owner in Fort Dodge, and we've got Ben Dillahay from West Des Moines, and just going to talk to them about two important topics and see where it takes us. With first, I want to start with Craig. So I'd love for you, Craig, to share your story, and you've made such an impact on my life. I want to invite you on here and help me with this video series. But, you know, would love for you to share your story with everyone watching, because you know, your life has impacted me, and I think Ben too. If you know,
For
so
sure.
this has definitely been a mentor to us, and I appreciate all that you do. So here you go.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You bet.
Thank you.
And that's honest. That's not just for the video,
Right.
but if someone makes an impact in my life, I want to honor that and show appreciation. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I
You bet.
appreciate it.
Yep.
I mean, the cool part about being the old guy in the room is, you know, more time in and more relationships built. And, you know, with both you guys, it's been great. And the good thing about these relationships in our company is everybody learns something from everybody. And I've learned a ton from Ben, and when he was up in Algona, and when you were in Jacksonville, you know, we talked shop, and it's definitely not a one-way street on learning. So I pick up a ton of stuff from you guys, and you keep me young too, right?
Try.
Yeah. But no, it's, you know, for my story, and to just get going, and we got a ton of stuff to talk about. It's cool how we've, you know, we're coming into this recording, and we spent, these guys rolled into Fort Dodge Wednesday. We had Wednesday night. We had all day yesterday.
Fun times.
5 a.m. workout.
Yep.
Had to hit the gym and get the brain going,
Good.
get the body moving. But that's a big deal for me in my lifestyle, and there's the workout phase. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, grew up in the business, started, you know, grade school, high school, worked with Dad in Charles City, and decided pretty early this is my deal, and I want to own a store. I want to learn from people that actually do it and are successful. So my training in Charles City, Cheyenne, Wyoming, got to work with 3 different owners. They all 3 taught me a ton of stuff and different stuff. First opportunity in Alva, Oklahoma, and went down there in 92, and was down there till Fort Dodge opportunity in 96, and I got the opportunity to open Fort Dodge from scratch, which, as Ben knows, and it's super, super fortunate to be able to open a store from zero, and from day one, it's ours, and no other manager's been there. And that's just a special opportunity in Brown Shoe Fit that I'm super, super honored to have. And so then, you know, again, OG, right? And I've been at it a while, 26 years in Fort Dodge from day one till now. And built it, you know, we try to hang up there in the top, and these guys are starting to surpass, but we're still growing. So as long as we can grow, they grow faster, I guess, bigger, more.
Mm-hmm.
But we love it. Fort Dodge is a town of 25,000 people. It's home. I raised our kids here. Cole, our son's doctor of physical therapy. He has a great career going. Our daughter's a nurse. She's, you know, killing it in the surgery department. And Brown Shoe Fit, you know, was a big part of their lives too. So it's kind of a quick story, you know, as we know, and we can talk, especially when it comes to this company, the passion for it, the love of it, the life it's built us, is amazing. So get to the question, right?
No, because what, you know, that made me think. You mentioned your dad,
Yep.
and I still haven't met him, and I really want to, because everybody says he's the best guy in the world. And you know, if I'm speaking for myself, my parents taught me a lot, and maybe mention or go into what your parents taught you growing up, and helped you become the person you are. Because I know my parents sure influenced that a ton. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and your dad was a retail guy too, so you saw the lifestyle and the hours, the commitment. But Dad being in Browns his whole career, he started in Washington, Iowa. Probably one of the coolest connection stories that I think about it all the time is the Whittam family. Irv Whittam hired my dad, which would be Rob Whittam's grandpa, right?
Yeah.
Washington, Iowa.
Yeah.
Dad's coming off the farm, walking around the square. Irv put him to work immediately when he came in, and I wonder if the hardware store guy would have hired him. I wonder if, then what? I'm running a hardware store? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
But Irv Whittam hired him.
I've seen you with a hammer.
Yeah. Right back at you, right?
Yeah. We don't belong there.
Ben and I are not the handy guys.
I'm not either.
No.
So.
My handy guy is
Group of non-handy guys.
Is my phone, and I got a
YouTube
lot of
videos.
Yeah.
I got a lot of guys that are handy guys that can do it. And Dad was. That's one thing I didn't learn from Dad. He was great at. I think he didn't want me screwing it up. Maybe so I just stayed away from that. But anyway, he taught me a ton in the shoe store and opportunity. Dad taught me a thing that I still use almost weekly with my crew is you don't have to work but also you don't get any cash flow. You don't, there was never an allowance in our house. We didn't get an allowance to cut the grass and vacuum the floor. Dad very early taught me that you got to work if you want to make money. And so he let me.
Love that.
So you talk about the influence of your parents. I blessed beyond means with what they did for me in that world, especially. So, it taught me really early that I love money and I want to make money. So how do you get it? You got to work. So he let me come in the shoe store, paid me, kept track of my hours, paid me, taught me how to do some stuff around our acreage, stuff I could do for neighbors, and whether it was cutting grass, whatever. But he taught me that you got to get out and work for it. So that's the biggest thing I got from him. And the retail world, I could go on and on. What he taught me in the shoe store and how to treat people. One of the kindest, best listeners. He's the top listener person that I know.
I could learn from him.
Adam might be second though.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
well,
he's
we
up
talked
there
about
for
this
sure.
yesterday though. Like I feel like I struggle with listening, but maybe we're all our own worst critics. I don't know, but
I think
the mind's always going. Staying present is definitely a weakness of mine, but that's a different. Maybe that's the podcast we've been talking about.
Right.
And you want to bring your dad on a podcast?
I gotta get him on here.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Dad just taught me so much, and
listening
on the work piece, which I still use with my crew now, is you don't have to work. Like if you don't want to work, that's totally cool. We never schedule people that don't want to be there. Like that's one of the first things that they learn when they come to work for us, whether it's a part-time high school kid or a trainee. Like if you want a Saturday off for a football game, put it on the calendar and take it off. I'm not going to tell you have to work, because I think the culture and the environment that creates, you see it everywhere you go. People don't want to be at work, and we just avoid that whole thing, because if you don't want to be here, don't be here. We'll find someone else that does. And that's Dad 101. I mean, he taught me that to the bone. So it's stuff I don't even have to really think about or push the crew on. It's just, once the schedule's made out, two weeks, once you're on the schedule in a 2-week period, you're locked in. That's different, right? But if you have something you want to do, or if you want 20 hours instead of 30 hours, we schedule that, and that's just how it is. So that was a huge thing, huge lesson that I still use all the time. So, the building the team thing, right? Is that
yeah, I mean that's a perfect segue into it. I mean, we got to spend a couple days together. We had Amanda, your point person for years. People watching this video, intended for SOD, our store ownership development program. So new manager owners. And that's what's cool about pulling from someone with experience, right? Because you even we talked about this a little bit too. 20 years ago, Craig is a lot different than today, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And so in many ways, but around team building, I'd love to gather your thoughts on all the experience and why it's so important to build a team. And I think that could really help people starting out because the reason I asked you to talk about this subject is I think you're the best at it in Browns. I learned a lot from you on that. I think Ben has too. And that was a big topic over, yesterday for sure. And so, Brown's mentality for so long, and I didn't really think we'd go here, is, in my opinion, kind of old school. Do everything yourself. Everything falls on you, and maybe not as much importance on the building the team. Maybe that's unfair to say, but that's just the feeling I get. Now, the past few years definitely have started talking about it, but maybe not as many implementing it. I don't know how far to take that, but maybe right. I just really want your thoughts on team building, why it's important, and what you've seen the benefits of that being in your own business.
Well, I think the long-term success he's had has required him to build that team bigger.
Yeah.
As far as going back to the old school mentality of Browns, is it took us to a certain point in our company's lifetime to where that size of a team was even required.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
That's why it's new, and your age, your experience is about the start of some volume numbers that required multiple levels of team. So not to jump in there, but
I love it.
I think that explains why the old school mentality of Browns was we do everything, is because we probably to a certain level could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think Ben nailed it, and that's what was rolling through my head first on, as just thinking about the building a team aspect of of my career and what I've done versus, me 20 years ago, me now. It's 100% what Ben said. It's 20 years ago, I could work my 60-hour weeks and keep up and keep my freight done and keep my invoices posted and stay in front of everything, right? Or at least keep up. And then as you grow and, anytime we do more volume, we sell more shoes, it's more everything. It's not just more volume. It's more freight. It's more returns. It's more hours. We're running 7-day-a-week operations where, when I opened Fort Dodge, it was 9 to 8, Saturdays, of course, and then Sundays, right? 7 days a week for 23 years. Thank you, COVID, for helping me realize I didn't need to do that anymore. We cut Sundays out in 2020, but still, I had a crew of, when I opened Fort Dodge, had an assistant manager that they transferred in to help me out, and that was it. It was him and I, and we opened the store. And this is a big piece, too, talking about building a team from zero, right? And we hired our first 3 employees off the selling floor. I haven't kept track exactly. We've hired over 100 people in Fort Dodge. I know that for sure.
That's cool. Didn't you honor them in a way with your anniversary?
Yeah, our 25th anniversary, we pictured every past employee that we could. I think we missed 6 pictures. We stole most of them off Facebook. Tate Specht, Amanda's youngest, helped me out with that. But over 100 employees, without getting super official, most of those came off of the floor and as a customer. So thinking about building the team, obviously people matter most. So you have to think about the people the most. And who do you want to be around, and who do you want to hang out with? We're putting in 60-hour weeks, and employees are working 10 to 60, and we're with them, literally with our crew, more than we're with our families if you add the hours up, right? So you want to hang out with people you like, and then the biggest benefit of our career and what we do is we choose who we hang out with and who we hire. So if you're not, for me, if I'm not clicking and vibing with a person, I'm probably not going to have them in my store very long. Now I give people an opportunity and a chance sometimes, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just got to hire. You just got to hire people, because I even tell the new starts, new employees, we're not going to know for 2 weeks to 2 months. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the hire fast, fire faster. I suck at firing too, but that's a whole nother topic and conversation. But it's more of a feeling and a vibe, you know. Mm-hmm. So then to stick on topic of building a team, you add, I spent years growing and then adding, and then growing and then adding. And I think we've all seen, and I think there's a lot of people out there that would admit that they get to a spot and they're kind of tapped out, right? They got, the workload is about all they can handle. Their crew's is about all they can handle. And then they kind of plateau out, maybe because they're not willing to, or they're not ready to add that next person. Mm-hmm. And it's an expense, obviously, but typically in a growing business, you add expense, either people or marketing, you grow, and then you surpass the expense and you make more money, which is what we do and what the name of the game in business. So, and then you get to a spot again, and then you need to make a decision. Am I going to add a team member? Or am I going to hang out here and we're going to do this with the crew we have? And for me, consistently growing is one of my main drives, and we talked a ton about that yesterday, because we're all three wired the same. There is no stopping. There is no we're done. I mean, we can always grow. So let's add a person. Yeah. And then the other big thing I wanted to hit on with building a team and staying with that main topic is, and Ben's actually did it before I did. You were working on it in Jacksonville, and I'd learned this from you guys the most inside of Browns, is get job specific on some hires. I think it's kind of weird, but because we want to hire ourselves, right? We want to hire floor people. We want to hire retail people. But the other thing about building a team is if you just keep hiring retail people, you have a store full of retail people, and nobody wants to post invoices, and nobody wants to check off pay sheets, and because we're retail people, so we got to the point where, hiring a bookkeeper, that was 10, 12 years ago, maybe before we were chatting a ton, but hiring a bookkeeper was a game changer for me. Hiring the freight person and that was just in January. And a lot of that was off Ben's lead and what he's doing with Mark down there. So our freight person, that's all he does is freight. And I know it sounds weird, maybe, especially to sod managers, and but again, year 26 versus year 1, I wouldn't have even thought of hiring a freight person the first 15 years because we could handle it.
Right. Well, the 12 years ago, the bookkeeper hire, was that because you didn't want to, because you didn't like it, because you didn't have time? For those watching, where they're at, and I think it's super important to be self-aware and know your strengths and weaknesses, but I run across sometimes where maybe they're not as strong in the bookkeeping area. Is that a possibility for them to look at, do you think? Is that a recommendation? And then what did you do to make sure things were going smoothly, the follow-up? Was that your role in making sure things were done correctly there?
Yeah. With our first bookkeeper, it was that spot where we couldn't keep up. Right. And then I found, and I don't hate book work. I can sit down and do it. I love numbers. I love, following all that stuff through. I do love the details of it. I mean, I don't do any of it now really, but I think it was more, I could hire that, and I knew I could hire that really well. And the bookkeeper I hired first, Cheryl, she's a bookkeeper. Yeah. Like that's her skill set. And So that was my first hire for a specific skill set, and then got my brain going on hiring that way. You know, I still probably stumbled with not hiring specific skill sets and just wanted to hire that retail person until the freight position. But it really wasn't hire on that particular thing. It wasn't necessarily hiring weakness as much as I knew I could hire a bookkeeper who would be great, and I oversee it for sure, right? Because we're 100% responsible. Whether we mess it up or Cheryl messes it up, it's still my problem and my responsibility. So yeah, I still work with her. Our current bookkeeper, Kim, you know, that's part of my day is, Kim, what's up? Anything weird? Anything off? Any problems? 95% of the time, she's like, no, it's good. I got it. And the 5% of the time where something's weird, then I jump in and we kind of walk through it. So I think originally, and this is, you know, the original versus now I wouldn't even think about me personally jumping back into some of the book work. And probably because there's so many other things I want to do and think about to build the business, not do book work.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that a little bit. Hiring your weakness is one side of it, and that can be really productive, but it sounds more like you hired yourself more time.
100%.
Which is what I do. Mm-hmm. Like I will, anything that eats up my time that I can use more productive on continuing to grow the volume, grow the business, I have departmentalized into other people that they could solely focus on that. That way you're never doing anything like half effort. Yes. And
we talked a lot about that the past couple of days, right? Time and attention.
Yes.
Yep. It makes things better.